Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brittney Miculka, and I am the Manager of Flight Training Initiatives at AOPA. I'm actually going on my 7th year at AOPA and have been a part of the Flight Training Initiatives for 3 years now. So for folks that have been looking at our research, have seen our pilot population initiatives, I've actually been a part of it from the beginning. So we've done a lot in the last couple of years. I'm proud of what we've done, and I'm happy to share with you something that we've worked on just recently. So I think, there we go. We'll flip through Pete's last slides. So as we know, we've heard a lot about it today, our current students and people that are soon to be our students, millennials, people coming in to flight training, they are prioritizing their spending. They know they are lifelong learners, and we know that they are motivated and that we need to hone in to why and how they're motivated. So at AOPA, we have done this year, actually in our 2nd year, the Flight Training Excellence Awards. And it's actually 2 parts. We have the Flight Training Excellence Awards, and we have the Flight Training Excellence Poll. And essentially what we wanted to do is hear from our customers. We want to hear from the flight students to understand how they're feeling about flight training. And actually we're taking it a step farther, not just how they're feeling about flight training, but actually how they feel about flight training at their specific school with their specific instructor. So we grow this program, like I said, this is our 2nd year, and we've been growing each year. But we do know that really flight training is an experience, and it really is a commodity. When people come into the airport, if they don't have a family member in flight training, if their dad wasn't a pilot, if they don't have that connection, we're at an airport. Maybe it's an airport with a big fence. The only opening at that airport to welcome you are the flight instructors and is that flight school. And we need to make sure that that opening in the fence is welcoming and ready for that person walking in the door. So we only get one shot at that potential customer base, and we want to understand and make sure that we're taking that one shot and that we're making it count. So that's where we've established the Flight Training Excellence Awards. It actually started in 2010, 2011, when we did our flight training research, the optimal flight training experience. So it's been around for about 3 years. I hope most of you have seen it. We make it free to everyone on our website. Page 19 is the synopsis of the factors that we think make an optimal flight training experience based on the research we did. So that was 3 years ago. Then last year, knowing what made an optimal flight training experience, we said, let's put the spotlight on those instructors in that flight school that is doing a good job. So from our research, we created what was called a nomination survey. Let's award and recognize those folks that are doing it right. Let's put what they're doing on display for our industry to see and give customers and give students and flight training professionals an idea of what's really working. So last year we did a nomination survey. We actually had over 2,000 respondents and nominations for these awards, which was awesome in our first year. And then this year we actually evolved again. We want to hear the good things, definitely. We need to be positive in this industry. We can't always be complaining about it. But in addition to the positive things, maybe there's areas where they've had really good experiences, and maybe there's just some feedback that we can work on to improve. So we changed the name for this year, and we called it the Flight Training Excellence Poll. It's not scientific, so we didn't want to call it a survey or a data collection of research. We wanted to hear from you. So maybe if you didn't have an awesome experience, maybe if it was so-so, here was your mechanism to share with us to help us understand what that experience was. And from that, we could score the results and have winners, and again, still spotlight and highlight the people that are doing the great things in aviation. So as I said, we started in 2012, and people have been paying attention. So we had 2,000 last year. We had almost 4,000. It was actually 3,000, 3,500 people participate in the poll this year. And it's 2 parts. There's about 39 questions for each part, and we ask people about their flight instructor, and then we ask them about their flight school. We marketed it in Flight Training Magazine, put it out there on Facebook, put it out not necessarily to the flight schools, but to the customers, to the pilots, so that we could hear back from them. Give us your reviews, give us your feedback. So the poll was open for all of spring and all of summer, April to August, and then we started, and we're still doing it, looking at all of this great data that we've gotten from your customers. So with the flight training poll, 508 individual schools were reviewed, 695 instructors. And so through the eyes of over 3,000 people, we were able to understand how people are feeling, what's going on in the industry. So we did announce some awards. We actually did it at Summit at Fort Worth just a couple weeks ago. And we honored these people in 3 different tiers. We had the honor roll. That means you are doing a good job and you're doing things right, and you deserve recognition. So there's the honor roll. We also had the outstanding flight instructor level. We gave that to about 11 flight schools and 10 flight instructors. So those people really rising to the top. And then there was 1 school and 1 instructor that were the top scoring. They were so great, and their students and customers thought that they were so awesome from their point of view that they were the top. And so we had 1 of each, and we awarded those. But the more important thing is not just to make the awards, but really to share what we're seeing and what we're getting back from that feedback, from those reviews. I can tell you overall, and I think this is because of people looking at it, sometimes preaching to the choir, you all are here, you all are on the right track towards a good experience. So overall, the majority of our respondents for the poll were positive reviews. We had overall people really excited to share good things. And of course, they know from that people are getting awards. And so students wanted to make sure their flight instructor, their flight school was included in that. So I'll run through these just real quick. As I said, we're still going through the data, and I'm going to share with you just a snapshot. But we plan on releasing a lot of this throughout the upcoming months, and actually have reserved a good section of the February Flight Training Magazine to share this with you all. So 6 actionable areas. This basically was, what are the areas where, when we cross-tabbed it with the general question, did you feel you had a good experience, people said yes, or people said no, they didn't feel they had the good value. So the first glaring one for us was time utilization. We asked them, did your school make you feel that your time that you were valued, you were put to good use? People that had a good overall experience said yeah, but people who overall rated or provided, not such good feedback on their schools, this was a big glaring area where that might be room for improvement. The other one was cost expectation, and I know we're seeing this more and more. We need to be upfront with cost. So we asked, based on information provided before I began training, was the money that you spent about what you expected, or was it far more than I expected? Those people that didn't have such a good experience, didn't value their experience, definitely rated this in a negative area. So again, this is something that's obviously important to our customers, is knowing the cost expectation up front. And when we are honest and upfront and realistic, they overall feel better and have a good value experience. The third one was time. Just like cost, we want to be upfront with how long it takes for them to begin training. So similar statistics here, that area where we can see improvement for our customers. The other one was, had trouble getting time I wanted with an instructor or an airplane. Schools that were rated good, those top scoring schools, had good feedback when we cross-tabbed it. Schools that weren't rated so good, this was again one of those top 6 areas where there's that reason and connection for improvement. The next one was having an instructor that adapts to your learning style, adapts to your motivation for wanting to learn to fly. So maybe not necessarily going straight down the syllabus if you need to spend some time or maybe alter that a little bit for your learning style or your motivation. So it's clear that when you can adapt and do that, people feel good and it's an overall good experience. And then the last one is situational awareness. As you're training, we've given those time expectations, but as we're training, are we checking in? Do you know where you are in the process? Do you know where we're going to be next week? Do you know how far along? And is my idea of that the same as yours? So doing that is going to contribute significantly to an overall good experience for that student. So we asked some free response questions as well, and these were really nice. And I'm just going to put a few of them up there so you can get that taste of what the poll consisted of. So one of the things we asked was the first impression. What was your first impression of that flight school? And good and high and low scoring schools often had a range because it's a first impression. We had, when you walk in the door, I immediately felt welcome. But we also saw people talking about the airplanes, old airplanes, airplanes that aren't clean. So again, asking those customers what the first impression is and looking at these and being able to share back with you all about what people are really thinking when they first walk in that door. We also asked them about aviation community. We know that community is so important to the flight training experience. You don't want to be in an isolated bubble. So we asked them how they felt and what made them feel included. So we get some really great examples. An online forum, maybe it's not even necessarily a physical community. Getting great ideas from people sharing things like that. So making it acceptable for your wife and kids. These are things that are obviously important to our customers because this is free form and this is what is coming to their top of mind as to their valued experience in flight training. So we also asked them, at your school, what's your school doing that others should emulate? Is there things that we as an industry can work on together? Let's share together. We don't need to do it in a bubble or a silo. What can we do to share with each other? So throughout these over 3,000 nominations, we also got good feedback as well. People valuing the fact that there's a space to study, free Wi-Fi, and that, again, emphasizing that honest assessment of where they are, what they're spending, follow through, again, is being emphasized as what comes to top of mind is that good value experience. So besides individual scoring, we're actually starting to look at, of the 38 questions we asked, what scores always had high scores? What question always had high scores? So this is a really great one, and I think we all know it's a priority for us. But we asked the question about safety, and this scored high on average for all flight schools, that a student does feel safe with their instructor and the airplane readiness as far as maintenance, things like that. So as an industry, that tells us that we are doing a good job. They also talked about, our other high score one was, I felt like my instructor praised my smaller personal milestones. So another important aspect of the entire training process. These are things that through the poll we see we're doing good on, and that is really nice to see validated here. Now on the other spectrum, other side, where, as far as all the questions we asked, did schools on average score lower? And the first one, at very top, was I had access to a flight simulator at a reasonable rate. From our research that we had over 3 years ago, we saw that simulator access was important, so we asked about it. And again, it does still seem to be important, but not readily available to the majority of students. So this was one of, on average for all schools, one of the lowest scoring questions. The other one was having flight instructors available to answer questions, things like that, and feel approachable. So with this, as I said, we did score schools, And I want to show you an example of what a top scoring school, people said about a top scoring school versus what people said about a lower scoring school. And it wasn't the top because I didn't think that would be fair, but these were two schools that had about the same number of nominations and had drastically different scores. But asking them about their first impression. You can see here my slide is full of words. The people that responded for this flight school wanted to share that information. They wanted to share the good news. Monthly community events, calling me to let me know about those events. That was what we heard about a good top scoring school. Then when we looked at a lower scoring school, what did the customers say about that? As you can see, there's still words on the screen, but they're shrunk down. When they didn't have a great experience, we noticed that people didn't really want to talk about them. They could rate them and share their feedback, but even as far as information, it didn't come as easily for these types of reviews. First impression, a school where they take your money and run. I don't think anyone here wants to be known as that, and you know, it's important to see that that is the impression of some students here. What should be emulated? Nothing. They're just training me to take an exam. Again, when we see these things as an industry, I think it helps us key in on what you all are doing right in just areas where we know students are not feeling so happy. So as I said, we are just diving into this data that we are getting from the Flight Training Excellence Poll. It just closed at the end of August. Then we had Summit, so we've been doing a lot of things and really trying to get this working. But we're working on it. We put out through our flight training initiatives a product that Ian Twombly is responsible called Flight School Business, which is our online newsletters for flight schools. So we are going to share information through Flight School Business. As I mentioned, our February Flight Training magazine will be dedicated to the information that we had through the Flight Training Excellence Poll. So we want to continue to share the information. We don't want it just to be AOPA gathered the information, then we put it in a file drawer. We are building. So we changed from last year. We're going to change and make it even better for 2014. I think as we understand the time and the process involved, we'd really like to be able to take this information, and when you call me up and say, hey Brittney, what was my score? What are people saying about me? I want to give it to you in a nice packaged way, you know, anonymous from student personal information, things like that. But we want to give it to you and then share it as the state of the industry so that you can see a bigger picture and then also see where, as a flight instructor, as a flight school, that you line up and share these best practices, share what people are doing right. So, you didn't know you were going to be on my slide, did you, Bob? So, our information about the awards, different categories, things like that are right on the website. You can see how we score it. You can see a video on the top winning school. You can learn a little bit more. And please email me about questions for the poll. But one of the great results from this process, this 3-year process, is that as an industry, and I can see it because we're all here today, we don't have to be in such silos where we feel that we compete with the person across the country, or even compete with that flight school 200 miles away. If you're doing something good and that other flight school is doing something good, why not share those ideas? And that's exactly what's happening. Last year at our Flight Training Summit, Aviation Adventures won a Flight Training Excellence Award, and another school also won an honor roll, but they wanted to step up their level of award. And so they met, and we were actually able to fly down to Virginia as well and just meet with them and see this great information sharing and seeing how a school from Virginia, you know, is open and willing to work with another great school out in California. So that's really where the message is, and what we're trying to do is gather this information for a positive change, gather this information to share it so that we all can lift up the industry together and really make sure that when people come through that hole in the fence at the airport, that they're coming to us, that they love it, and that they want to be a part of the community and remain in our community. So thank you very much, and I look forward to your participation in the poll next year, and I hope that I see you as award winners. And I know, actually, if you are an award winner, we have our best flight instructor here in the front row, and we also have some honor roll. So again, well done, you guys, and thank you for being here.